Ryan Walsh. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Glad to have you out. This is round two for anyone that doesn't know. We had an episode maybe a few months ago now that aired. Go look it up. It's a good one too. And I'll just preface it by saying if you're not into drones and the future of where the world's going and maybe a little bit of alien spaceship we're going to get into, then you might not appreciate this episode. But if that stuff is interesting to you, we might go down a few rabbit holes today. So we'll see. So yeah, man, excited to have you back here. I know you were in Hong Kong.
Yep.
For a little while. I'd be curious to hear just kind of what are you guys up to? What were you doing in Hong Kong and what's going on?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. Seems like the world gets crazier and crazier every time I step away, right? No, we were in Hong Kong. I was at ALMAC, the Asian Logistics, Aviation, Maritime Conference. Great conference in Hong Kong with just phenomenal, just top to bottom. One of the best conferences I've attended. Yeah. I think a lot of people who are visiting Asia are coming back and realizing how much further along that part of the world is.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Just in so many aspects. I mean,
believe
it. Japan, Korea, China, Hong Kong. I mean, just that whole side of Asia has really moved at a much quicker pace. And I don't know, I mean, it's hard to describe other than you see it in the infrastructure, you see it in the bathrooms, you see it in just the streets, just
trains,
everything. It's just, you can tell it's almost like you live in the 2000s, right? And you're like, oh, this is the future. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's further along, and it's hard to describe how nuanced it just kind of hits you when you get there.
Which I think is interesting because a lot of people even here, but around the world think like America is the most advanced and most technological and most innovative. And I think in certain ways we are, but in other ways you go to the other countries and you're like, wow, why don't we have this? You know, we have Amtrak, dude, which is like just an old train that moves like 60 something miles per hour, and they have these lightning freaking train. Like,
it's like anything else, right? It's you invest your time and resources and money where you want to see the change.
Yeah.
Right? And so they put a lot of effort and resources into, you know, those types of things, right? There's cities, the trains, just travel, everything. It's just very, sometimes makes you feel as an American like, man, we got some areas that we can improve.
Yeah, for sure. So what was going on in Hong Kong then?
So
I know the conference, but like what was it all about?
So it was going over really just all kinds of logistic developments, bringing together a lot of, just leaders in each of the spaces. But they really had a focus on drones at this conference. And it seems like, you know, wherever you look, drones are more and more a part of that conversation. And so they really just put a whole effort into bringing a lot of just drone CEOs and, different people to have discussions. And we had some great panels. I was really impressed with the conversations that were had and the discussions that were going on. So it was just a really good conference overall.
I saw cargo drones. Are going to be the future of air logistics.
Yeah, that was the panel I was on.
What does that mean?
So, they were really focused on where drones are going and how drones are actually going to be delivering things for everyday use in the very near future. In China, for instance, it's already been happening for 7-8 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
They're way behind or way ahead of us on drones too, aren't they?
Way ahead.
That's what I thought. From what I've heard, I'm not an expert, but I heard that Biden and the policies from the previous administration were kind of like not super supportive of drones. Is that right or no?
It goes all the way back to the previous Trump administration. Yeah. 2014 is really kind of when the whole world kind of stood still for the drone industry for a decade.
Now, why would that be?
I think what was going on in the time was the FAA and the government was worried that if you have a bunch of people just throwing drones in the air, right,
Mm.
you're going to have them colliding with aircraft and, doing the wrong things. And, we did have some of that over the years.
Right.
But I don't think you're going to stop any of that, right? Like
Right.
you got to have systems to counteract that. And so, they threw up a more or less blanket embargo where you had to have line of sight of your drone, right? And so that pretty much killed 99.5% of all the business cases for drones, particularly delivery. Whereas China was much more embracing of it. So you're seeing kind of the fruits of 7 years, 8 years of policy going in a different direction, and now they're way ahead.
So it's like you kind of got to break shit to innovate too, a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't want to blow the doors off the safety procedure, but you kind of got to take some risk and have some things happen to be able to innovate. Otherwise, you just not get like cars crashed a lot when they first started driving cars and shit happened, right?
I always laugh. We would have the first drone flights and people be like, oh, this isn't that impressive. And compared to what drones are doing now, it wasn't. But you look at the first cars and they were going 2 miles an hour and you had to have a guy out front with a flag and he had to make sure that nobody was in your way. Oh, it was crazy. Yeah. So like you look at that all the way to F1, right? And all the progress that has happened in the last 100 years in cars, right? I mean, we're going to see that exponentially bigger. I think what's going to happen, truth be told, is a lot of the AI bubble that, we might see a few pops or I guess cracks, whatever. And I think a lot of that money and focus is going to shift into drones and robotics in this next year.
I think you're right. Robotics, I've been seeing some wild things come out with that. Some videos on just like the robotics. Now they're like running back and forth. It's kind of scary, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah,
it's Terminator.
It is. And so I was listening to Joe Rogan interviewed NVIDIA CEO, the Jensen guy, and they were talking about what really is being conscious. It's an interesting conversation because AI right now could appear conscious, but is it really conscious? I mean,
I don't think we have anything close to AI, to be honest with you. I think we have very, very glorified predictive text models.
In your mind, what is considered AI then? What would be?
Not necessarily true conscience or sentience, but you're at least fooling people on the tests, right? I mean, it's an awareness of your general surroundings and kind of your place in it, and having the ability to kind of understand the capabilities you have to manipulate the world around you, right? To some extent. And so if we're having AI that is genuinely able to solve problems, even and I know we see it a little bit in some of the black box syndrome we have with some of the current LLM models, but even this agentic AI that they call it, I don't necessarily think it is the same level of problem solving and cognizance that true AI would have, right? Like we're seeing a lot of the limitations and kind of where these models are kind of hitting the wall. And I don't think it's the same places you would have AGI hitting a wall. If anything, that's where AGI would flourish in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Kind of a lot of it's just like taking other information and spewing it back to you in the best way that it knows how to do. Right. It's not actually like thinking and then giving you an answer. It's kind of pulling from a bunch of data sets and language models, obviously. But yeah. So does it seem like the United States is back on the drone train then? Are we better with regulations now to try and catch up?
We're making a lot of progress. And it seems like the last year there's been a lot of progress in the right direction on drones and on patents. So patents have been in kind of winter for the last decade as well, thanks to the America Invents Act. So that was passed, 2011, I believe. And so that has made it very not inventor friendly out there. And so we're seeing a lot of turns on that. And the reason that matters is when you have patents that, inventors, which turn into startups, and those getting invested and funded and turn into your bigger companies and eventually your unicorns. So, I mean, the patents are what protect those resources in the early days being invested, right? And so it's really important for innovation to have a good patent system.
Right.
And so the patents being more protectable these days is leading to a better environment, especially because drones are very hardware driven.
Right.
And so that, along with some of the changes, executive orders we're seeing, and Pentagon looking to spend, crazy amount of billion. I think Florida just announced the other day they want to spend $4 billion on drone systems, right? And so we're seeing that push kind of towards that direction. So yeah, I think it's exactly kind of where this whole thing goes.
So when people say China has much better drone technology than the USA does, do they mean civilian or military or both?
Both.
Damn, we got that far behind on military? Like, I would think that would be one place that you would keep up and you could test things under like isolated scenarios. So it wouldn't be like civilians just flying shit in the air. How would that not be a number one priority or a top priority? Because drones are just basically aircrafts in the sky now. We launch missiles, we do attacks. Like, that would be the one thing you'd really want.
I was talking to a lot
and
of
you've been in the military, just to clarify, the Army, right? Army
yeah, I was talking to a lot of my contacts, higher up in the brass over in the military. And I kept saying, this 2018, 2019 timeframe, hey, this is the future of warfare. They kept saying, you're crazy. And I would tell them, like, you have this mindset like IBM had in the old days with computers.
Right.
They thought bigger, more concentrated, right? Bigger global hawks and things like that, right? And I kept telling them, like, no, it's when you decentralize and democratize this technology, a lot like phones or computers, that's when the shift really happens. And so when the battlefield gets to a point where you have, drones making these types of, borderline AGI decisions, the battlefield changes tremendously. And we saw with Ukraine what that looks like. And
wasn't that kind of the first big war of like drone technology where it really emerged?
Yeah.
Right? You heard about it.
Well, I mean, prior to that, all you saw was, predators and reapers taking out, a wedding in Yemen.
Right.
I mean, it was ridiculous asymmetric warfare. And so now Ukraine was the first near peer type of conflict where, you have drones really making the shift. And I think those first days when you have a 15-year-old kid using $300 in drone parts to take out a $3 billion tank column, it's like, oh, there's something here. Right. And even some of the people I've been talking to lately, they said that tactics have completely changed in the last 18 months.
I'm sure.
Like, if you've been out of the front lines for the last 18 months, whatever you learned is no good anymore.
Right.
Like, the battlefield has changed so much.
That's so true, man.
So it's kind of rewriting doctrine as we speak. And so I think, yes, drones are going to absolutely be the future of not just warfare, but almost everything.
Right, exactly. Because now you kind of got to look up. It's not just on the front line.
It's beyond just look up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then you got humanoid robotics that are coming where it's like, we're not going to have humans in the battlefield for that much long.
I think we will.
You think we'll have humans in the battlefield? Why wouldn't we have humanoid robotics?
Because those are going to be near peer. There's only so many countries that have the capability of building humanoids, right? Right. If you have China going after one of their, although they're not very, kind of expansionist. Let's say the U.S. uses some of those figure robots to go and take out a terrorist cell in Yemen, right? Like, I think there's going to be a lot more of us deploying it against human targets in the beginning,
right?
And so it's not going to be us against China with two armies of
because I don't think armies are even. I mean, if we went to war with China, would it even come down to like two battlefields of like, maybe it's like urban combat or something, or more like, but it seems like it'd almost be fought in the air or by sea, or like you wouldn't just line up like thousands of soldiers and like they're going to go fight each other, right?
They're already fighting it in a lot of ways, right? I think the next war is going to be so multidimensional.
That's right.
It's going to be, we're seeing it cyber and economic and space.
Exactly.
There's so many domains to this. And so what we would consider a strategic target may be very different in the next war.
Right. It's going to be freaking wild, man.
It will be.
What are you most excited about when it comes to drones?
So I think, truth be told, just the future of being able to press my button on my phone and whatever I want is right where I am. Right. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's going to open up a level of convenience and to, our day to day, right? Now your mind gets spinning, right? But,
Yeah.
to our day to day, that could open a lot of doors. But to people who live in a, more challenging environment, that changes the entire outcome for them, right?
Right.
It gives them opportunity and applications to hope that they didn't have before,
Yeah.
right? So now if I don't, have to worry about going and getting groceries or having to pick up food or whatever it may be, getting my medicine, right? Like that's where I see the biggest change. But where I'm a little nervous is we're seeing a huge uptick in adoption by police departments. It's called drone as a first responder. Um, and some of the ways that these departments have shown that they're using this technology is got me looking very closely at it.
What do you mean?
Uh, the police have not always been ones to respect civil rights or kind of people's rights and then uh kind of build policy around that, right? Like tends to be push that boundary as far as they can, and then where does the lawsuit start and kind of work your way back. And then so drones are obviously a massive tool. They have implications to change so many things, and we're seeing it in the departments that have adopted it already.
When you said the drone, it can bring me anything. My mind thought just quickly went to like I forgot my phone at home or something, and I signal it and boop, it picks it. But then you need somebody to like either put it in the drone or like grab it. Maybe that's a humanoid robotic or some type of device. But that'd be kind of wild just to like call something to you.
Yeah, no,
You
that's what
know,
can happen.
I mean, it just seems like it's a matter of not if but when.
No, that's it.
Yeah. When do you think humanoid robotics will be in people's houses? Like you or I might
It's a
legit have
cost thing. It's a cost thing like anything else.
Right.
And,
Do you think it's 5 years, 10 years?
I
Or
mean,
it's somewhat common?
these figures that what Brett Adcock's making
Yeah.
are really impressive to me. Those are the ones I'm most impressed by so far. And
Why those over Elon's?
I mean, Elon's, I think, are just like anything else Elon does. Look at me, I'm in the game, right? But he's not leading in any of the areas short of maybe SpaceX, right? Just because,
You don't think he led with the EVs though?
I mean, no, I think there's
Not anymore, you think? Or
I think there's especially China.
Mm.
Like China,
If you're talking global, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, he's getting smoked.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Man, China's really just doing it.
they really are.
Which is kind of ironic because I feel like you always think of their country as like communists and like not having the freedom of entrepreneurship but they're somehow, whether it's right or wrong, how they're going about it, or you disagree or agree, they're somehow getting it done, technology wise.
Yeah, I mean they are, and I think it's just got a lot to do with them putting the focus and prioritization into rebuilding, their society, their
Right.
infrastructure, but also their population. Right? They put
Yeah.
a lot of their efforts into math and STEM and things like that.
That's true. That's a good point.
If you look at the version of TikTok that Chinese kids look at versus
Yeah.
the version the U.S.
Yeah.
kids look at, it's wild. But that's that war we're talking about, right? Like they're fighting a war on every domain.
Yeah.
Why did they let fentanyl and precursor chemicals over? Like, it all plays into a bigger picture. And so I think that,
We kind of already are at war.
right. Like
you
we've been
think
at
about
war.
it.
We've been at war.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. So back to my question. How many years do you think, if you had to guess, before humanoid robotics are in people's houses? And it's a common thing.
I think in the next couple of years, to be honest,
years,
but
really?
it goes down to economics again. And what I fear is going to happen is it's going to be the haves and have-nots. And right, imagine if you have something like the feudal South, right? With this, right? You have these mega rich that can afford humanoid robotics to work fields, to work in factories, to do this, that, and the other. And it's property, right? Like no question, right? And it's going to be many years and a long time before AI has a point to where they're representing themselves in court for their own agency.
Man, that would be kind of wild if we saw that
coming. But you're going to have a world where, you know, the haves are able to afford the $20,000 a piece, or what does Elon say he's going to have these out for, right?
Man, I'd be shocked if they're that low.
That's, you know, the numbers getting thrown out, right? But if Elon's, I think he said 20,000 a piece is what he's aiming for. Maybe somebody else, I might be wrong, but you know, 100 grand, I've got a little squad of those guys, and you know, what do you need done? Right? And so it opens up a crazy world, but I think you are going to have people that build these robotic armies that work their factories, work their field, work their whatever.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Wow. It is kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah.
These things are going to be freaking everywhere, dude.
I mean, eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you had a humanoid robotic right here, and let's just say I forgot my phone at home, I might just tell hey, Roger, robotic, go back home and go get it.
I don't think
or maybe
you need to. I think,
if the drone's there.
You just tell him and he would, you know, organize all of it through the cloud or through the internet.
That's right. Because he's a I mean, he would just
be all
done.
Think in a different way.
Yeah.
And so, he would coordinate the logistics, and then 5-10 minutes later a drone's dropping it off, and he goes to the nearest Valqari box and grabs it and brings it to and so it's going to open up a whole crazy world.
And you guys just did, I saw you announced that you did an acquisition of Skydrops.
Tell
me a little bit about that.
It's actually wild. So Skydrop, originally they were called Flirty. And they were the first ever drone delivery company, ever, right? And I take that for granted at times when I'm going through the stuff we just acquired, but, kind of blown away by some of it. And I keep going back to we got the first ever drone delivery company. So these guys started in 2012, moved to the States in 2014. And we're really pioneers in a lot of the things we now take for granted across drone delivery, or just drones in general, to be honest with you. And for a number of reasons, they weren't able to continue. So they had to, put their stuff into the courts for insolvency. And fortunately, we were able to work with their investors and acquire their patent portfolio. So at the time when we had first started talking to them, it was only a handful of granted patents and a pile of pending patents. And so, it not everybody could see the bigger picture, I should say, the forest
for the trees.
With the trees, right? And so I don't know what it was. I happened to see what these patent applications actually kind of were. And so we put a bid in and they accepted it. And we had to work through that, process for quite some time. But it all finally came together the other week and we were able to execute that deal. And so we were able to more or less double Valqari's portfolio. So at that point we had... we just gotten our 37th granted patent. And during that time, those 5 or 6 granted Skydrop patents had turned into 36. And so add that to our 37 and, we've got a substantial portfolio. I'm sorry, 34. I'd have to look the final numbers. But it covers a ton of stuff. These guys were so far ahead of every other company in so many areas. And so whether it's parachutes or winches, ground-based radar, these guys had so much that they were working on. And so being able to carry that torch and incorporate it into our systems and our portfolio has been just a huge honor, but also a huge opportunity. And so we're looking at what this new portfolio covers, and it's almost everything required for a drone operation.
And last time we talked to you, obviously had one Northwestern as a customer, or maybe it had been a while, but they were a current customer. And I'm curious how some of those projects and customers are going.
Yeah, we're seeing, if anything, it's almost like before the tsunami, right? You see the tide pull back.
Yeah.
Unnaturally far, right? We're seeing a lot of that, where a lot of these big companies are putting their heads together going, all right, 2026, it's happening. We're able to really kick this into high gear, fly BVLOS, put all these routes together that we've been thinking about for the last decade. And so we're seeing almost 2025 being a planning year for 2026. And, we still saw record numbers across the drone industry in a number of different areas. So I think next year is going to be just mind blowing. I think
really?
the amount of attention, the amount of money that's going to flow into the drone space, I think it's just going to blow people's mind.
Yeah. We're going to get some rate cuts. So it'll be more liquidity and spend and that kind of stuff too.
That'd be nice.
We'll see. So if it's obvious that drones are going to be delivering packages, do you think about drones delivering humans in terms of what is the time frame and what does that look like in your mind? Because at some point, just naturally, it's like, all right, you're going to have a package or something brought to you by a drone. Eventually, just a little bigger scale than that, probably more complexity, you would just hop in a drone and go, or you would transport that way. And then you got it's kind of like the Jetsons type thing.
Yeah.
What do you think about that whole space? Is that something you guys are ever going to get into, or are you focused?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
We'll never be. And so the Advanced Air Mobility, right, AAM, kind of covers the whole overarching umbrella from air taxis all the way to, little packages. And so we focus on the package and just more last mile side of the drone, right? Some security, DFR, things like that, but really sub 10 miles. But you get into larger drones that are doing mid-mile cargo, right? One of the guests on the panel that we were on, Manal, CEO of Mighty Fly, they're doing some really amazing things with, they're more cigar type shape, but they still have, the props and everything, right? But they're flying much heavier cargo, longer distances, right? And so there's going to be huge mid-mile opportunities where, for instance, you would have one of their systems flying, a few hundred miles between, let's just say, hubs, right? And then you would have our systems that would be able to break that down and distribute it in those areas, right? And so I think there's going to be a lot of multi-tenancy in these new projects and new kind of things that are coming up. So we're really excited. We're still working with all of our partners. We've got some new partners we're going to be announcing very soon. It's a very exciting time.
Very cool. Yeah, it almost seems like you could imagine a world in a few decades or so where ground transportation is just not even a thing anymore.
See, that's where I don't agree on that. I think that...
Well, you would know. So.
Yeah, I would say that,
I'm talking far because what would be the point if you could fly? It's just so much faster. I mean, this would be obviously way in the future, but...
There's still plenty of need for ground, and I don't think drones will ever replace trucks. I think if anything, we saw during COVID, we need our ground-based, and it's already as tapped as can be. We don't have a lot of extra room.
Right.
And so drones will be a great addition and alleviate a lot of the kind of pressure we have on our last mile.
Yeah.
But just the need for ground-based vehicles. If anything, I think we're going to have more incorporation of them.
So why wouldn't you just take the truck and just make it fly?
There's people trying to do that.
I mean, that seems like a tough project.
That
it's so
actually
heavy,
is.
dude.
That's the problem, right? So,
but I'm talking. But if you flash forward 50, 100 years,
possibly, yeah.
It doesn't seem
material science.
It doesn't seem out of this world. We're probably dealing with a whole new set of I mean, it's just completely different.
I mean, there's a lot of people right now that are looking at how do I, for instance, land at a hospital and then use a vehicle to take it in, right?
Yeah.
And so there's different ways to incorporate ground-based vehicles. So I mean, like, I think ground-based robotics have been deployed wrong in the last decade. Like, we've tried to do all the whole delivery route or the entire, project, whatever it is, with the ground-based vehicle.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, like, people suck, right? Like, you don't want people sharing their space with any kind of robots. Like, they would destroy them, they'd kick them, they'd try and rob them.
Yeah.
Oh, they were awful, these robots. And so, people need to get people space, right? And so if we have these kind of mixed routes where drones are delivering to these transfer stations, and then that transfers it to ground robotics, or just all kinds of different ways we can interoperate and hybridize these routes. But I think that's more how they're going to be used rather than just kind of going by the wayside. But
yeah,
I definitely think we've seen a lot of the limitations of them in the last decade for sure.
Yeah. Last time you were here, we talked about UAPs.
Okay.
And I want to share something. I'm going to play a quick video. It's a short video, maybe a minute and a half. And we'll watch it, listen to it. You guys can watch and listen to it as you're here. And then we'll react and have a little conversation around it. Because this has to do with flying things in the air. It's not.
Sure.
I don't know what this thing is. We'll play it, but.
The newly released video captured by a U.S. Reaper drone shows a glowing orb off the coast of Yemen. Suddenly, on the left side of your screen, you see a Hellfire missile zip in, strike that unidentified object, then bounce right off it. When we slow the video down, you see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path, that trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed out angle. Not shown is a second Reaper drone that launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video at a House Oversight Committee on what the military calls unidentified aerial phenomena, better known as UFOs.
That's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
We've never seen a Hellfire missile hit a target and bounce off.
Lou Elizondo is a former senior intelligence officer with the Pentagon.
When a Hellfire makes a hit, a kinetic strike on something solid, there's usually not much left of whatever it is it's hitting.
What the hell do you think that was? That took a Hellfire missile and just don't keep going.
I mean, I think there's.
Have you seen that clip?
I haven't seen that one specifically.
That's wild, right?
It's definitely wild.
I mean, it's just like we just go about our day like where nothing's going on.
Yeah, there's so much going on this decade that
freaking Hellfire missile.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in the military. I mean, maybe you didn't fire a Hellfire missile, but you're familiar.
Hellfires make a mess of whatever they hit.
It's no joke. And
Yeah.
the thing just ricocheted off it.
Yeah, but again, like, when was the last time we had a real demonstration of any technology?
Right.
Right, like we unveiled the F-117, the B-2, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the last 30 years, right? Like, I don't know if that's ours, if that's foreign, if that's outside of any of the major players that, we are actively training and tracking, right? Like,
there was a new documentary, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, called The Age of Disclosure. It's on, I think it's in theaters now, but you can also find it on Amazon, directed and produced by Dan Farah, I think is how you say his name. And it features 34 senior members of the U.S. government, military, intelligence community. It reveals an 80-year cover-up of existence, non-human intelligent life, and a secret war amongst major nations, which we kind of talked about going on earlier, ironically, to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it kind of seems there's definitely something governments are hiding. There's no question. I mean, that's just for with anything. I think we all know that. But it I don't know, man. I'm kind of 50-50 on this.
What are you 50-50 on?
There's part of me that thinks that, like, absolutely we found aliens, spacecrafts, that type of technology, and now we are back engineering it. And then there's 50% of me that thinks that maybe there's no aliens at all. There was just somehow this technology discovered, and we don't want to release it, or whoever doesn't want to release it until you absolutely need it.
But yeah, I think it's.
But wouldn't that be the ultimate negotiation power? Wouldn't you? if one country had it over the other, it almost like you'd have to bow to that country.
Well, that's why they haven't released it yet, right? Wait till the next major conflict, and then all of a sudden, we show up over all the Chinese cities and UFOs, or vice versa, right?
Right.
Like the battle's over, right? And
exactly.
Yes, I think there's absolutely that type of thing, but when we say aliens, right? Like, we discovered this technology, right, one way or the other,
right?
I mean, I think
clearly it's there because we just saw it and we just witnessed it, and that's like an approved, legit video. It's not like some bullshit and fake stuff, like,
right. I mean,
that's in front of Congress, you know what I mean? So obviously it's verified, and there's a ton of those types of videos too.
Yep.
So the tech is there.
It's there, right?
You can't dispute it.
When we say aliens, what does that mean?
Something that's non-human origin from a different planet.
But again, what it could be from our planet, could be from
definitely it could
way
be
in the past.
Yeah,
right. Like,
right.
It could be entirely based on Earth and what we found here, right? Like,
we could be in a simulation right now.
Could be, right? Like, there's so many things, and it's so weird when you think of the implications of some of this stuff and you really peel it back. But even the fact, like, this could all be going on just within Earth, like, and we keep hearing this interdimensional stuff they keep saying in Congress, and so
I think there's something there for sure.
Absolutely, but there doesn't need to be a alien from any other planet for it to be interdimensional,
It's
right?
true.
Like, who knows what's on the other side of that?
Yeah,
right. And so,
and if you did think about, like, what if there was another civilization that's just like a million years ahead of us? I mean, if they're just a million, or even 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 in terms of technology, I mean, it'd be like us dropping in 2,000 years ago. They would be like, these guys are aliens. Like, what is this flying thing in the sky? Like,
I think there's a lot of evidence for there being a major catastrophic situation 12,500 or so years ago, right around Younger Dryas time frame. I think what caused that or whatever, right? But all the megafauna in North America disappeared, and civilizations and everything disappeared from North America. It had to have been pretty rough, right? And who's to say that the most advanced civilizations from that time didn't find a way to go underground or find a way to, and so who knows what technology they had. So, I mean, it very well could absolutely be the possibility of what's going on.
Yeah. I wonder if it makes me wonder if we do have, my number one thing I'm curious about is, do the governments have this already, or is it really something like we see, interact with, and don't?
No, we obviously have it.
You think so? Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot that's come out, and I think since
Marco Rubio is in this film. I mean, he's
I haven't seen the film.
I mean, it's like prominent people. It's not like somebody trying to take photos or like interview someone that said they got abducted. This is like age of disclosure. Go check it out. I haven't watched it yet, actually, but it's pretty revealing. With
the 1933 Magenta craft that crashed in Italy that we recovered. What was it, after World War II or something with Mussolini? I don't know. But I think we've known for a long time. And I don't know if it was the weapons we started using around World War II or what, but it seems that there was definitely an uptick after that.
Yeah, that's what I read about too. It'd be kind of weird because, like, all the stuff that you guys are doing, the entire community, if you had this new technology, it would just change everything. If you had access to that technology overnight, you'd probably solve every single problem you have.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, that's when you start talking about the implications, I think what they've been hiding is much more so they've had this technology, and I think that's kind of understood at this point. Is a lot of countries have this, right? I think that was that hidden war they were talking about, but the cover-up program, right? The black budgets that have gone into testing this. I mean, that's all got to be accounted for. People have to answer for that, and there was a lot, I'm sure, of craziness going on there. And so I think that might be the scarier thread for them to kind of pull at than free energy, whatever, right? Now, some of the implications if you actually look at, theory of relativity and all these other things. Like,
Yeah.
who knows what the actual propulsion mechanism is, and
Right.
if it is actually pulling through wormholes or this or
Totally.
that, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, that's time travel,
Right.
right? And so when you start looking at, special relativity and things like that, you get into some scary, going 1,000 years on that craft could be 10,000 or 10 million years back home, depending. And so there's probably bigger reasons why you don't want everyday people just using this technology outside of,
Yeah.
it's cool and you can fly anywhere.
Yeah. Do you think you'd ever do another business that's outside of kind of the drones and the technology and this, because you're in a very innovative, things change by the day. It's very exciting. It's kind of sexy. Do you think you'll be in this industry or something related to it?
I don't know. I never say never, but there's definitely been enough excitement over the last 20 years of my career that I don't know that I'd take another 13 to plus year challenge on like I have with drones.
When did you start the company?
I started in 2017 and started working on this technology in 2013.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Did it take you longer than you thought, or is this what you anticipated?
Way longer.
Really? It usually does.
Way longer. Yeah, I figured, there was going to be, it was the adoption and the acceptance curve was a lot different than I thought. For instance, I talked to people in the military, right? 2018, I'm going, hey, this is the move. And they're going, no, you're crazy. And I'm going, well, I've got military experience. I've got this drone experience. Like, trust me, I know what I'm talking about, right? And no. And then Ukraine comes and all of a sudden everybody dives into it. And, this DFR is a perfect example. I look back at interviews I was doing back in 2018, 2019, mentioning this, and because knowing we have a lot of key patents in this area would be protected, but watching kind of the industry just move in that direction and adopt that, it's been interesting to say the least. But I don't know that I'd want to take this challenge on again.
It seems like when you start a business or some type of venture like this, I know for me, it just does take longer than you think.
Yeah.
Like whether it's an investment or a business, and I think that's why the power of staying in the game and continuing to get better, it's like, it is a battle of attrition sometimes.
Oh, it is. It's
like people, most people wouldn't have waited as long as you did. They'd have been like, after this, dude, I'm out of for 3 or 4 years. It didn't take off.
Well, and that's, where I think a lot of people kind of, I don't know, they set their own demise in a lot of ways, or probably, prevent themselves from kind of where they could be. Because not everything happens that quickly. And I filed these patents for this awesome technology, and then boom, we get a 10-year government ban, right? I mean, what are you going to do? And so it's been a challenge, and some days I am ripping my hair out, but that grit is all that really matters, right? And even 6 years in, I'd sit there and do the same calculations almost every morning, right? Like, is this the right place? Am I spending my time and resources in the right direction, right area? Like, what not getting caught in the sunk fallacy costs, right? Or sunk cost fallacy, I should say, sorry. But going, hey, I spent 4 years on this, I'm pot committed, and I want to, look like I fit. But at some point, you got to say, hey, it's not going to work, right?
That's right.
One of my first patents was on 3D printing. It wasn't my first patent. It was on 3D printing from an advertisement way back in 2012. And we had filed this patent application, spent money on it, a bunch of money at the time, and, a year of our lives. And we had gotten the patent granted, and, we were about to pay our issue fee. And that was right when the Alice v. CLS court decision happened, which wiped out all software patents. Right. So I had just spent all this time and money on this, and my lawyer, I'm like, whoa, do we get our money refunded? He's like, no, like, you're screwed. You're out. Like, I go, so the Supreme Court just makes a decision.
Wow, isn't that shitty, dude?
A year of my life,
Wow.
25 grants all out the window, and
Don't even care. Just
don't,
boom.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's you're in the big game now,
Jeez.
right? And so
That's how it is. It is cutthroat.
it is, but I learned a ton. And, you know, I went to my co-inventor at the time and was, you know, are we going to take this on the chin or are we going to fight back? Right. And so, you know, we filed our drone patent from that kind of frustration or chip on our shoulder, you know? So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it opened that door, and I wouldn't have had that experience that I needed to navigate where I was. So in a lot of ways, I wouldn't be where I was without that failure, right? But we knew right away, let's close the door on that one, start something else, right? But, you know, oftentimes you'll see people for sentimental reasons, for this, for that, they'll run a business longer than they should, or, you know, not push it as far as long as they should to kind of hit that success. And there's no real way of knowing oftentimes, you know,
Right.
which side you're on.
Yeah. Are you happy most days?
I
Or
don't,
how do you feel
I
when
don't
you don't
know.
think about it?
I don't know.
What's your gauge? What's kind of your North Star? Like, when you look at evaluate your life, it's like, you know, like a fulfillment. Am I generally happy? You're not gonna be happy all the time. You're gonna have shit happen, obviously. But like, what's kind of your North Star in terms of?
You know, I look back at kind of the moments that I would say I'm proudest of, or, you know,
Okay.
that kind of impacted me most, and
Yeah.
they were never fun. You know what I mean? Like
That's true, yeah.
Ranger School wasn't fun.
Yeah.
You know, being in the 75th and deploying with them, you know, it wasn't fun.
Mhm.
But those are the most impactful and, you know, challenging things I've ever done, and changed me in profound ways, right? You know, grad school wasn't fun, you know, but obviously it changed and taught me all kinds of things, right? And so I don't necessarily gauge it by happiness, right? If anything, those kind of pleasure and kind of fleeting happiness type stuff, right? People think, you know, oh, I went on vacation, or, you know,
Mhm.
did this or whatever. And don't get me wrong, you know, friends and family and those things are extremely important. But I don't necessarily kind of chase those things. You know what I
Right.
mean? The pleasure side of it, or the kind of happiness side of it. I'm just very mission driven, and
Mhm.
you know, I set out to do this, and, you know, it just so happened I probably, just like when I signed up for the Army, didn't quite know what I was biting off, but
Right.
you know, I made a commitment to myself though that day that I was going to see this through no matter what. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the most important thing for me, is seeing this to a point where, you know, I've gotten this technology out there. I've gotten it to a point where it's helping people, and, you know, we've gotten a good return for our investors and all of the things that kind of go into a success on this. But yeah, it's a dogfight most days.
It's an interesting topic because it's like, what do you use as your compass in life? You know, and it's
Yeah.
like because you could. Some people are like, I want to be happy and I'm going to live a lifestyle, and that's fine. Some people mission driven. Some people are like, I want to feel fulfilled, like I'm doing good shit every day, makes you feel good. Other people, you know, have different things, and it's sometimes it's I kind of wonder. Like, I
Well-
think it's a combination of things, but it's like I definitely know that I'm not going to be happy all the time, so I don't chase that for sure. I do look at fulfillment, relationships. Am
Do
I
you
doing
read-
something I'm proud of?
Do you read philosophy at all?
Not really, no. But I think it's quite interesting.
I think that's you'd enjoy reading some philosophy.
Yeah, probably would.
Those guys all try to
Enlighten
answer
me.
that
What-
question.
yeah.
I mean, it's those questions, right? Like, what's the purpose of life? Is
Yeah.
happiness? You know, like, I'm a big fan of Nietzsche, and you know, he's very adamant the world is a cold, dark place and owes you nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's up to you to realize that, you know, you don't really matter in this world. You know, like,
Yeah.
there's no purpose to you. You are just part of a much bigger ecosystem and a much bigger kind of song playing out, and you're just
Right.
one note in it. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, what do you do with that information that you don't matter? Right?
Mhm.
Nothing you do really and all reality is going to matter. The sun's eventually going to explode, eat the earth up. It all gets erased. Nothing you do will
Right.
eventually be there, right?
Right.
So what do you do with the information that it doesn't necessarily matter?
And that can be kind of freeing too.
That's it.
Because sometimes you think, oh my gosh, this, and now I got to do this. My life is this, and everyone's watching me. And it's like nothing, no one cares. Go do your own thing. It's freeing because you can then just say, well, what would I want to do that would get me excited to get out of bed every day?
That's it.
You know?
Like once you have that kind of freedom, you know, and I was fortunate to be able to have early successes with my entrepreneur journey, and I was able to kind of fund the stuff I'm working on now to some extent, or at least seeding those. But you know, once you kind of, you know, everybody says, oh, I want to work for myself. And, you know, that's a double-edged sword. You're going to work as hard as you've ever worked and longer hours than you've ever thought possible. And you'll, you know, make the much less money doing it that way, at least in the short run, than you would working for someone else. Right. And so, you know, okay, now you're your own boss. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and then you get success. Now what? Like,
Yeah.
what is your reason to get out of bed every day? And you know, you'll see a lot of people kind of hit that wall or kind of spiral out, or just kind of, like you said, ride off into the sunset and spend 20, 30 years just hanging out, right? Like, what do you do with it? And that's the big question, I think, for everybody.
Yeah. I look at it like, I think I kind of evaluate my life as in my more the business career side is, am I getting up every day and excited to work on the thing I'm doing?
Yep.
And the moment I'm kind of like not excited anymore, it's not like a short term something happened. It's like, my heart's not in this. Like, I'm not excited. I don't want to learn more about it. I don't want to absorb stuff about it. I'm not excited to, like, Saturday mornings. I mean, you're probably the same way. Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, I'm working, you know, like before my kids get up and before my girlfriend, like I'm doing stuff, not because I have to, because I'm excited to, like, and even this morning I get up at 5:30, 5:45. I do a little quick read, and then I get to work. And it's like one of the best parts of my day.
Yep.
I get my coffee, I'm on my computer. It's like, I'm fucking happy, man. Like, I'm in my zone.
That's where you want to be when
You
you're
know?
in those flow states. There's nothing better.
Right.
Nothing better.
Yeah.
You know, there's days where I pushed myself so far the day before, you know, that I've got to peel myself out of the bed. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. Yeah.
But then I get up
Yeah.
and going, I get that coffee in me, I'm rocking and rolling, and then I'll push myself as hard as I can till I redline, and then crash that day, and then peel myself up, you know. And so there's days I do that, you know. I've realized as I've gotten older that, you know, this is a marathon and not a sprint. I think
That's right.
Through my 20s, I sprinted a lot of it, and I burned myself out more than I care to admit a few times in my 20s and early 30s. You know, but it's that, right? Like, you've got to want this, and if you don't want this, I mean, I see it with some of the people I've hired, and probably, you know, not necessarily my best hires, but you know, the kids that are in it for a paycheck, the kids that jump jobs every 2 years,
Yeah.
you know, like I worry about that group, because they're missing a major piece where, you know, yes, you don't always get that raise every 2 years, but you see that project through, you grow, you get that better position, whatever it may be. And again, not every situation's like that. This isn't a blanket statement, but you know, I just kind of overall see a little bit too transactional, I would say, of kind of that mentality. And you shouldn't have that with your job in time. Like, I get it, a lot of it is just a job. You're doing it, you're getting your money so you can go focus on your passion later on, whatever. But I think there's just a lot missing in the way these kids are operating in some ways, because you lose a lot of the relationships that get built, the mentorships, the just so many things that can grow from that. But yeah, it worries me in some ways on that.
I agree. I agree with you. I think in most cases, I think you can find a way to mix your passion or what you're excited or fulfilled by with an income.
Oh yeah.
But you're going to have to work your ass off, and you might have to get really creative, and you might have to be uncomfortable for a while.
And you're not
There's
gonna,
a way, and I'd just rather do that path. I'd rather take the harder path and go that route than like work some job I fucking hate and then like save the money to go live on the weekends the life I really want.
yeah, that I don't know.
Sounds
I've
miserable.
never understood that life.
Yeah.
But I think that people
Or
often
retire
forget.
at 65 and then go live your life. That's
awful.
that's ridiculous.
I think that, people forget that it's not greener on the other side always, in the sense of like, I want to be a police officer. Well, half your job's doing paperwork, right? and even firefighters, right? The amount of chemical exposure and health risks that they're exposed to over their career that definitely aren't paid for, right? There's all these kind of setbacks, right? I mean, I loved being a ranger, right? But there was maybe 1% of the time doing the commercial stuff and 99% of the time doing anything else, whether cleaning gear, it's running, it's working out, just all the things that make you able to do that 1%, right? But that 99% is the journey, right? Like that is the day-to-day, the BS, I don't like having to do X, Y, Z, but that comes with the job. You don't get to just pick the good parts.
Right.
And I think there's kind of this mindset that I'm just going to do what I like and not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of these kids are kind of, having some of the challenges that they are, is because they don't want to take on the whole burden.
That's a good point. Because even if you're really interested in something, you got to go market that. You got to go sell it. You got to have operations around it. You got to fulfill it. And so it's like, whatever you pick, there's going to be aspects that you maybe don't like.
Right.
But I don't know. I think I found a way to either somewhat enjoy those aspects or just know they come with the territory, and you got to, it's just like,
it's the maturity of it.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. You got to, not every single day. You're like, I don't want to do this thing right now, but I got to do it.
That is what it is,
Yeah.
right? You're an adult. It comes with the job. I
Yeah.
got to do X, Y, and Z to do the other parts that I do enjoy, right? Or, something they always taught us in the Army was just embrace the suck. If you learn to enjoy those things that, people don't enjoy, whether it's crunching the numbers or doing the tedious, whatever, that gets you so much further when you're willing to do the work and you're good at it, that other people don't want to, can't, whatever it may be. And so that's where people really start shining in their career. Like, people miss that, there's a lot in those kind of in-betweens.
Yes. I also think there's an opportunity for everyone to push themselves more and level up themselves. And I'm looking at that. End of year, I always do a lot of reflecting, and I'm like, did I push myself enough this year? Like, I think there's an opportunity to, like, what is your true potential? Because that is part of what I'm going after in life. Is, if it's like the saying, if you met yourself 100 years from now in heaven, let's say, or wherever you go, and they showed you the full potential version of you, and they're like, this is what you were meant to be or could have been, and then this is what you did with it. And it's kind of like, damn, I could have been that. I could have done this. I could have had this. And whether that's personal or business or whatever, I think you're always kind of like looking in the mirror and saying, am I being the best version of me?
Well, and you can't have it all, right? I mean, you're going to have to make sacrifices no matter which path you choose, right?
Totally.
So you're always going to have a version of you that you could have been, right?
That's a good point.
So again, it's not necessarily grass is greener, but, a lot of people compare themselves to others and, keeping up with the Joneses and this and that. And it's really about, am I beating who I was yesterday?
Exactly.
And as long as I'm improving that, I'm where I want to be. Right. But a lot of people have a tough time kind of, just reflecting, being honest with themselves, kind of just, truly being critical when somebody gives them feedback, taking it in and going, is there some truth in this or whatever? But most people get insecure, get defensive, react, whatever it may be. And so, again, it's people kind of showing where their lines are and kind of what level of development they've gotten to, but, everybody's on their own journey.
That's right, man. So what's next for Valqari? What's new and exciting? Any new launches? Anything on your radar? Partnerships?
We've been really pushing our new tech transfer and licensing campaign. And we recently signed a partner, the Aero Group, publicly traded drone company, for our first license with that program, and have big plans through 26 for it. Now that we've got not just Valqari's 37 patents, but the 36 from Flirty, adding those all together, it's a really formidable patent portfolio, and it covers just such a substantial amount of really the whole drone industry, from delivery to DFR to, just kind of the overall. I think we're going to have one of the most critical standard essential patent portfolios that there's going to be in the drone industry. And so we're really looking at different companies we can partner with and how we can, get this technology proliferated further and adopted further. Really looking to kind of expand more internationally. That was one thing in Hong Kong I really kind of realized is we've gone through different projects internationally and domestically. We've got some big ones coming up in Florida with a partner we'll be announcing soon.
Nice.
But yeah, it's going to be an exciting 2026.
I love it. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about what you guys are doing?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. They can check us out at Valqari.com or LinkedIn. Find me, Ryan Walsh. I'm happy to connect, and please reach out.
Cool. Let's have a great year, man.
Let's do
Appreciate
it.
you coming on. Thanks.
Thank you.